Welcome to today's webinar, brought to you by Vet Resources. We're excited to have you here with us to discuss ASQA's 2026 Audit Expectations and Learnings from 2025.
In this webinar, we'll explore key insights into ASQA's new audit requirements for 2026, review lessons learned from 2025, and give you actionable steps to ensure your RTO is fully prepared for the upcoming audits. Angela, the CEO and founder of Viva City, also known as the RTO Superwoman, and Ben, a trusted compliance expert, are here to guide you through the complexities of the audit process. Vet Resources provides a wide range of tools to ensure your RTO stays compliant and audit ready. From learning resources and kits.
Welcome to today's webinar, brought to you by Vet Resources. We're excited to have you here with us to discuss ASQA's 2026 Audit Expectations and Learnings from 2025.
In this webinar, we'll explore key insights into ASQA's new audit requirements for 2026, review lessons learned from 2025, and give you actionable steps to ensure your RTO is fully prepared for the upcoming audits. Angela, the CEO and founder of Viva City, also known as the RTO Superwoman, and Ben, a trusted compliance expert, are here to guide you through the complexities of the audit process. Vet Resources provides a wide range of tools to ensure your RTO stays compliant and audit ready. From learning resources and training kits to advanced SCORM files and the comprehensive ELICOS curriculum, we've got everything your RTO needs for success. For any questions or to request free samples of our resources, contact us at Vet Resources. We're here to support your journey to compliance and audit success. Thank you for being with us today. We're excited to dive into the webinar shortly. Let's get your RTO ready for 2026.
Welcome to today's webinar, brought to you by Vet Resources. We're excited to have you here with us to discuss ASQA's 2026 Audit Expectations and Learnings from 2025.
In this webinar, we'll explore key insights into ASQA's new audit requirements for 2026, review lessons learned from 2025, and give you actionable steps to ensure your RTO is fully prepared for the upcoming audits. Angela, the CEO and founder of Viva City, also known as the RTO Superwoman, and Ben, a trusted compliance expert, are here to guide you through the complexities of the audit process. Vet Resources provides a wide range of tools to ensure your RTO stays compliant and audit ready. From learning resources and training kits to advanced SCORM files and the comprehensive ELICOS curriculum, we've got everything your RTO needs for success. For any questions or to request free samples of our resources, contact us at Vet Resources. We're here to support your journey to compliance and audit success. Thank you for being with us today. We're excited to dive into the webinar shortly. Let's get your RTO ready for 2026.
Good morning, everyone. Hello, everyone, and Happy New Year to all of you. I'm so excited and super thrilled to welcome you all on behalf of Vet Advisory Group and Vet Resources on today's webinar. Today is actually our first webinar of 2026. So I'm super excited, and just because we are joined with two amazing speakers talking about what are the ASQA audit expectation for 2026 and what are the key learning from the audits in 2025. All the insights are going to be practical, real world insights that you can use right away. And I'm super excited to introduce both of our speakers. Ben Tucker, as you already know him, he has 15 years of experience in RTO compliance. Ben is the CEO and the founder of Vet Resources and Vet Advisory Group, also CEO of Stanford Institute of Technology. He is here to help us unpack the auditors, what auditors are looking for, and how you can approach compliance with clarity and confidence. And with him, our guest speaker, amazing, beautiful, Angela Conner-Richards, the founder and CEO of Viva City Coaching and Consulting. I'm loving this vibe, Angela. And she's also the host of RTO Superhero Podcast, a show dedicated to helping RTOs navigate compliance and run successful, sustainable businesses. With over 30 years of experience, in wet sector and the wealth of practical insight. Angela has supported hundreds of RTO to simplify compliance, prepare for audit success, and she is also a regular wet conference speaker like Wilk. So welcome Angela, welcome Ben. I'm super excited to welcome both of you, and we are looking forward to learn a lot from both of you. And also, before we start, I just wanted to put out just a few housekeeping notes for all of you out there. Your microphone will be muted throughout the session just because we just wanted to run. We don't want any background noises. If you have any question, you can put them on the chat box, or at the end of the Q&A session, if you just wanted to speak your question, if you wanted to speak to one of our speakers as well, you can put your hand up. Our team can unmute you and you can ask your question there as well. So there's an opportunity. And if, let's say, if we are running out of time, if we could not cover all the questions, we will make sure that anyways, your questions will be answered either via videos or maybe via podcast, or maybe we can just reply to you via email as well. So, but we will make sure all your questions are going to be covered. So before taking so much time of yours, and also I want to make a last request. If you all can turn on your cameras, we would love to see your lovely faces, and it just makes it easier for us to speak to all of you. So please, if you can, if you're comfortable, and now I'm not going to take a lot of time of yours. I'm going to hand over to Mr. Ben Tucker. So Ben, go ahead. The stage is yours, and I'll stop talking now. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mahi. Thank you. I'm super excited and pumped for this first session of 2026. And hope you all had a great break and recharge yourself. And what a way to start up 2026, talking about what is the plan for the 2026 and what can we do in RTO 2026. I think this is the perfect webinar to start 2026 in a right direction. You know what, I was reading one of the book, and the book was talking about how we need to make sure the direction needs to be right. Even the direction angle change from 1% to 5%, the destination is completely changed. So what we learn from that, we need to make sure the direction is right, then we're putting the effort, because the speed will not give us anything unless the direction is correct. So this podcast gonna give us a lot of information, what happened in the 2025, what are the experience of 2025 in the audit, and how we set ourselves in the right direction in 2026. And also I'm very grateful that Angela joined us for the session and sharing her wisdom to all of us. And I'll look forward to learn from that. So let me share my presentation first to start. Let me know you're able to see it. Okay, perfect. So let's start. So before we start, let's have a quick poll, see where we are at. And sometimes the reflection is a good thing. If we reflect, we get to know where we are at. And when we know what's the reality, then we can improve from it. So let's have a quick poll. How audit ready do you feel for 2026 under the new standard? Very ready, somewhat ready, not ready, high concern. So this is not a judgment of any of the RTO people. This is just an idea that, okay, where the people are feeling, where we are at. And like I said, no one is perfect in the world. We all have room for improvement, including all the government bodies and everyone. No one is perfect. But when we identify that, okay, we need to improve it, then the only way we can take action towards it. So I can see some poll coming up. 69% people says somewhat ready, gap identified. 18% people say very ready, very confident, good thing. 9% says not ready, and 1% say high concern. Whether you are somewhat ready, not ready, high concern, or very ready, this session will always help you to take from there. And like I said, that no one is perfect. we all have a different stages of our life, same as RTO has different stages. And through the right training and implementation, we can get things around. And that's why the Angela going to show you your 90-day plan. You can change things around as well. So thank you so much for that. Let's go to the next slide. Why this session matters. 2025 standards are now in force. There are quite a few audits been conducted, and we've been part of those audits from re-registration, initial audit, post-initial. So we're going to share our experience as well. Reflect full application. So you know now that in 2026, the whole new standard going to be audited. So that's another reason. ASQA audits are now evidence-led, site-based, practice verification, and governance focused. So this is something, a new shift, which we are seeing, and how we make sure that we are ready for it. RTO cannot fix every at once. So that's the practical thing. Like if I try to fix 50 things at a one time, I cannot fix anything. So what are the main important area that we need to fix? And then we also going to give you some practical tips that, okay, how we can identify those top 20%. This session focus on what changed in 2025, what ASQA learned, and how RTO should prepare for 2026. Let's lead to the next slide. There are some numbers, because you know what I learned, that if you want to improve anything, you also need to go back to the past. Past will tell you what we have done, what the reality are. And then if we look back 2024, 2025, some figures, it gives us an idea that, okay, what needs to be done. 284 performance audit conducted. 78% audited identified non-compliance. More than 25,000 qualification been canceled. Now I think it's more than that. This is something significant shift we seeing in 2024, 2025. The tip-off, 3,000 plus tip-off received. And more than that, the tip-off, 50% of the tip-off is useful for the regulatory actions. And 116 site visit, 88 unannounced, primarily CRICOS and high risk, and that could be increased next year as well. So these are the figure telling us that, okay, that's what happened in 2025, where regulator is focusing on, and what could likely be in 2026. What this number telling us? The revised standard actively enforced, ASQA removing invalid outcome and not tolerating them now. Intelligent-led audit, rather than just, you know, okay, you have re-registration, you got the audit, they are now more intelligent-based. Also those tip-off information as well, they are undertaking, they're taking the site visits. All those things are now more intelligent-led support or practices that we are seeing. Key audit shift, show me the evidence that this is actually happening, and more practice-based, that policy explain intent, evidence demonstrate control. So we need to show that or demonstrate the evidence and also a practice that how do you do that during the audit. Lesson learned. So as I said, we've been part of the many audits, re-registration, post-initial, initial audit as well. The approach has changed completely. We're seeing it that. And quite a few audit we are seeing now, they're focusing on leadership part of it, governance, that whoever the leaders, CEO, PEO, or they're actually aware of all those area. So that led to number one, governance was not visible, unable to explain the compliance system, over reliance on consultants. And we have seen in quite a few audits that they were not allowed to speak a lot in the consultant side. What it means that um, when whatever the policy procedure RTO has, when the CEO, PEO, or relevant compliance manager interview, they were saying about the vet, but there's no connection what is actually in the policy. So, and the missing and the evidence saying something else. So those are the area that we seeing in the audit. Second is system did not align. As I said, one document says something else, one document says something else. There is no connectivity, there's no connection. So TAS has hours identified for the practical, something else, the session plan says something else, and the actual timetable has something else. And that there is no connection there. Policy procedures, as I said, that policy saying that we're going to do, for example, follow up for the course progress. We're doing 3 warnings, but in the practice, there's something else. Or practice, they just send 1 warning and then nothing happened. So that's what they're seeing. There is inconsistency between different documents. So there is not a system. It's just that random different documents doing different things. And then they go into a deeper level. Next slide. Assessment authenticity fail, AI plagiarism risk not control. So I think majority RTO that I speak to, they all concern about the student evidence based from AI. And that's something that regulator also know. And that's what they also ask, that how do you make sure that the student work is not plagiarized or AI written? And then RTO need to be able to demonstrate that. Student work could not be verified as genuine. That also because of the AI language. When you read it, it's too perfect to be true for that. And then auditors say, how the student able to write this way? So then that goes to the evidence is not genuine. Assessment marking related issues. Probably you all aware of it, that when the marking happen, there is not sufficient feedback, especially for the practical side when there is a observation task, because that's a major evidence for the practical. We're seeing there's not been provided a feedback related to that, and just tick and flick and say satisfactory. So those are the things we are seeing in the audit, that also need to be improved. And like I said, that how many RTOs actually feeling that this is the concern? If you can maybe give me a thumbs up, yes, no, we get the idea that because we've gone through quite a few audit, but I think we got around 197 people, around 200. So maybe if we put some thumbs up, yes, no, that would give us an idea to everyone as well. And we all learn from it. We get the everyone say, okay, yeah, this is the area, something we need to focus. And you know that the student evidence is one of the major thing for the RTO. If this is not right, this is gonna be a very tricky situation for any RTO. Site reality did not match documentation. So as I discussed that in last year, there's a 100+ site audit being conducted. And we also did, as part of the internal audit, to few of the client did site audit. And then we find out that, when you go to site, they have insufficient equipment or facility, especially simulation hard. When we say, okay, weak work placement evidence, delivery not matching approved schedule. So when we ask for the timetable has something else. And on that day, they teaching something else. Sometimes the student is not there. If there is a 1 or 2 student, when we ask, okay, what unit you currently studying? What was the previous unit? When did you do practical? And when you actually talk to the student and the trainer and the management, none of these are aligning. So that's why when the site visit happen, we need to make sure that everyone has the same information, and also we execute according to how we plan. Staff interview do not match with the documents. One of the classical thing that we said that, okay, in the timetable, there is a unit called COM 005, but in reality, the unit was actually completed 2 months ago. And when we discuss with the student also said, oh, the trainer don't come on time, this, that, and all those part. So all those things been uncovered in the site visit. So that's what we all seeing in 2025 audit, and we all need to improve from that. So hope this give you some sort of idea what is happening in audit and the site visit, and then you need to plan how you can improve from it. Audit reality, if it cannot be demonstrated on site, it does not exist for the audit purpose. Self-assurance, a core audit question under 2025 standard, will auditor now ask. Evidence of ongoing self-assurance, not just the annual internal audit system that, okay, how you sampling the operational data, identify any issues early, what are the corrective action that RTO has taken, and how you make sure that the corrective action taken and they review them effectively as part of the self-assurance process and the continuous improvement process. And that's what we are seeing in audit. Okay, what is your self-assurance process for this? How do you make sure you're self-assuring this? And when we ask this question in the internal audit, sometimes the leadership team doesn't have a clue. What strong RTO can demonstrate? That could be, you say, monthly or quarterly sampling of student assessment, trainer file, high-risk qualification of unit. So instead of relying on annual audit, what I think it's a good RTO should do is could be a monthly or quarterly sampling process. That way, you're able to identify if any concern as early as possible. Also, you're able to demonstrate your self-assurance that goes to your continuous improvement, and that the whole cycle of continuous improvement will work. And management review record showing finding, action, and follow-up. So when you do all those things, just make sure you retain all those evidence as well. 80-20 principle, as I said, that if that could be 50 things to fix or 100 things to fix, we can't do everything. So that's why there's 80-20 rule, or Pareto principle says that if we focus on top 20%, will give us at least 80% of the result. And that's what we try to identify. We can't fix everything in one go. We just need to step by step. And also that, as I see in the Angela's PowerPoint as well, she also covered the high risk area, the medium, and the low as well. So that's how we need to approach it. RTO cannot address everything. Audit data shows small number of risk area accounted for number of regulatory finding. So that's where I think I want you to understand that, identify what top 20%, what are the most important things that gonna affect the RTO registration. Let's fix that first, then go to next stage, then go to next stage. ASQA risk priority, academic integrity. ASQA is already telling us these are the risk, and that's what they're going to see. As I discussed before, AI misuse, plagiarism, cheating, inability to verify the student work. That's something we need to work. ASQA already identified that this is the risk. And if they already know this is the risk, that's something they're going to check in each and every audit. And that's what we need to make sure that we are covered for that. RPL integrity. So if you're providing RPL, make sure you have sufficient evidence to justify that. Otherwise, it's already, we are seeing quite a few RTO certificate been canceled and all those part as well. Shortened duration. You know, often people tell me, oh, why can't I do this short? But I can see this other RTO doing this in this month. I said, you need to understand the cohort, and then depend on that, you need to work out. So don't just rely on directly shorten up. we just need to mindful that this is something as in ASQA's priority as well. So whenever you're doing a short course duration, you justify that with proper industry consultation and evidence around it. Work placement. So this is something that also a risk priority, that evidence of real hours, task and supervision, alignment of unit requirement. Make sure the student completed those hours that mention, they record everything, hours been mentioned. And we have seen now that even in the audit time, they call to work placement provider, say, can you tell me which student performed the work placement from this time to this time? Can you please confirm that? International marketing and delivery, agent behavior, attendance, recruitment practice. And I think we also see in December, there's another new legislation being in place, which is more about the international delivery, and make sure there's a marketing practices are consistent. Non-genuine provider activity, if there is a ghost delivery, fabricated, inconsistent evidence, those are the 6 areas that ASQA is focusing on. Without taking more time, I'll just quickly take to the road for 2026, and Angela will cover that more in detail as well. Identify a top priority, top 20%. Ask yourself, what are the most important things? Whatever the student related, trainer related, whatever delivery related issues, identify first and put them as a priority to improve. Check where you stand. If you don't know where you are at, where you're standing currently, you cannot fix. So maybe do a small audit to identify where you are at. Implement ongoing self-assurance. And improve with right capability, assign the responsibility, use appropriate expertise, and focus on quality evidence. Document, make sure you document. When I talk to a lot of clients, oh, we did this meeting, we do this, but we never recorded. Now, with the AI, you can utilize the AI for meeting recording, all those parts, use it, make sure you capture all the evidence properly. And we also going to provide you a compliance roadmap checklist and the self-assurance and compliance plan, which I was talking about, the monthly or quarterly audit structure as part of the resource, as part of this session. So that could add value to you. Now, that's it from me. Without taking a further time, I just want to hand it over to Angela, RTO's superhero, and look forward to learn from Angela. So over to you, Angela.
Thank you, Ben. Before Angela begins, I have a humble request from everyone in the session. If we can please turn our cameras on. I know it's Friday. We are all wearing formal clothes, but it's absolutely fine. I always say that even if we are sitting informally, that's absolutely fine. Please, we will be really motivated seeing your cameras on. And Angela will be able to add a lot of better things if that can be done. Over to Angela. Thank you so much.
No problem. If you're worried about what's going on behind you, don't worry about it, because I've got 2 puppies sitting in my background here, and they'll be wandering about as they always do during the session. So yeah, so I always say, you know, puppies, children, anything that's going on in the background, I'm used to it. We work like this all the time here. So thank you very much, Ben. So I've just shared my screen, but I can't see it up on the main screen. So I'm not sure why that hasn't moved. So we'll see if that can come up there.
Yep, we can see the.
You can see the screen. Awesome. Yeah. Okay. All right. Awesome. Okay, so thank you very much for joining us today. So happy to be sharing with you what I've learnt in particular over the last 12 months. It's been a crazy year where we've taken a big journey when it comes to the new standards and the compliance requirements against those standards. So what I'm going to be sharing with you today is we'll be going through in the session covering the fundamental shift of how ASQA has been auditing RTOs, moving from a transactional evidence checking to practice verification. So what are you actually putting into place? What is the evidence to demonstrate that? We'll be exploring the changed approach and how the revised standards shape audits and the expectations from ASQA. I'll highlight 6 critical compliance zones that ASQA will scrutinise closely if you are to go to audit. And we'll also discuss what operational compliance looks like in practice. And I'll be providing you with a 90-day action plan or roadmap to audit preparedness. So the goal is to ensure that you understand the context and urgency behind these changes and leave with a clear action plan to get your RTO audit ready. ASQA's regulatory framework is undergoing its most profound transformation in over a decade. The 2026 audit cycle is not merely a new year, but the full operational implementation of ASQA's assurance-based regulation, fundamentally redefining RTO compliance. This critical shift, initiated with the 2023 framework revisions, moves ASQA beyond transactional document verification, where auditors primarily checked if policies and procedures existed on paper, to practice verification. In 2026, auditors will rigorously assess whether your RTO systems are genuinely effective and consistently applied. This includes direct observation of training and assessment and real-world scenarios, in-depth interviews with trainers, learners, employers to validate experiences, verification of actual learner outcomes, progression and pathways, scrutiny of your internal quality management systems and continuous improvement processes. RTOs clinging to a transactional compliance mindset face heightened regulatory exposure. Consequences can range from conditions placed on your RTO, rectification orders, and mandatory training requirements to severe sanctions, including suspension of registration, scope restrictions, or even outright cancellation. And we've seen a lot of those of late in the last 12 months, even this year. This could lead to significant operational disruption and financial penalties. So let's have a look at what you can do. The old transactional audit model focused solely on collecting documentation as evidence and assessing compliance at a single point in time. This led to a tick box mentality by both auditors and RTOs, where the focus was on verifying your policies rather than actual practices and decision making. And what was that process? Audit findings would often result in reactive responses without a proactive approach to risk management and continuous improvement, leading to you just changing policies and procedures and not actually practices. The new assurance-based regulation model takes a more holistic view, verifying that systems and processes are operating effectively in practice. Compliance is now seen as an ongoing expectation, requiring a continuous focus on risk management and operational reality. This system thinking approach allows for more proactive responses to emerging issues and greater emphasis on driving positive change. ASQA's 2023 strategic intent introduced their new regulatory approach. Consultation papers have provided revised standards and interpretation guidance, including the practice guides. Provider bulletins offer regular updates on ASQA's expectations. Audit reports publish findings highlighting new focus areas for compliance. Increased enforcement actions demonstrate ASQA's seriousness when it comes to their intent through sanctions. The regulatory environment has become increasingly complex and the stakes have never been higher for RTOs. Failing to adapt to the new regulatory approach by 2026 can have severe consequences that go far beyond just compliance findings. These consequences include immediate regulatory risks such as conditions imposed on scope, sanctions, or even registration cancellations for systemic failures. Significant operational impact and disruption with extended audit timeframes, multiple site visits, and major resource diversion to respond to findings. Substantial financial impact, including loss of contractual funding, reduced enrolments, emergency consulting costs, and potential legal expenses. Serious reputational damage with public disclosure of sanctions, loss of industry confidence, and damaged relationships with funding bodies. The time to act is now. The RTOs need to start preparing and adapting their practices to ensure they are ready for 2026 audits. So now I'm going to break this down into a few different areas. I want to first help you break down the understanding of how ASQA are going to audit. The key changes in ASQA's audit approach is a shift from simply checking evidence for verifying actual practices and systems. In the past, audits focus on gathering documentation to demonstrate compliance. This meant auditors were looking closely at how RTO's policies, procedures, and systems operate in practice. The goal is to assess whether the RTO is genuinely meeting its obligations, not just creating paperwork. The more holistic, practice-based approach aims to get a much deeper understanding of the RTO's compliance. It requires RTOs to have robust, embedded systems and a strong culture of compliance, not just files full of evidence. Get my slides to move. The focus of ASQA audits has shifted from just checking policies and procedures to verifying that documented processes are in place. So how are you demonstrating that you have it in practice? Auditors will now interview staff at all levels to assess their knowledge and observe how processes are implemented. And this is the knowledge of your policies and procedures put into practice. It's not the knowledge of the standards, it's the knowledge of your systems and practices. They will review decision-making records, system outputs, and trace processes from start to finish to ensure they match the stated methodology. The key question is no longer, do you have a policy, but can you demonstrate this policy works in reality? For example, auditors may ask you to walk them through how you identified a learner was not progressing satisfactorily, in particular under the new support services requirements. Show the records of intervention and explain who made the decision to continue or exit the learner and how was that documented. Systems, not just documents, are key to effective compliance. Policies and procedures need to be integrated into daily operations, and it should become a culture within your organisation, not just exist on paper. Look for clear accountability and ownership of processes. Observe how these things actually work in practice, not just review written documents. Continuous monitoring through registers, tracking, and oversight is crucial for demonstrating ongoing compliance. Increased scrutiny from ASQA on the quality and rigour of decision-making processes across all compliance areas. Auditors expect to see clear accountability, documented rationale, and evidence-based judgments. Key areas they'll be examining is governance oversight, so being your executive minutes, demonstrating compliance monitoring, risk discussion, and strategic decisions. I recommend that all RTOs hold a monthly governance meeting. This is where you capture all of that data. Delegation framework, clear authority levels, position descriptions with compliance responsibilities, and evidence of accountability. Decision records, documented rationale for key decisions like assessor recruitment, RPL outcomes, student interventions, and partnership approvals. risk management, active risk registers, mitigation strategies, and evidence that identifies risks are being managed. Data analytics and intelligence are increasingly used by ASQA to target audience and shape their scope. This represents a shift from random sampling to a more risk-based model. ASQA analyses vet miss data to identify anomalies like rapid enrolment spikes, unusual completion, geographic inconsistencies, and trainer allocation irregularities. They cross-reference this data with student survey responses, complaints, and other third-party intelligence. By the time the audit is scheduled, ASQA has often have specific highlights that they want to focus on and potential non-compliances. Auditors arrive with targeted questions based on the data patterns they have identified. Significant data inconsistencies in a vet miss reporting can raise red flags during audits and regulatory reviews. For example, if the data shows 40 students enrolled under a trainer who is only employed 0.6 within a full-time employment, that would be a concerning mismatch. Similarly, completion rates that are significantly above sector averages may prompt questions about assessment integrity and trainer capacity. So how are you going to demonstrate how you've collected that data and you are above the sector averages? These types of data discrepancies can trigger targeted audited questions from regulators to investigate potential compliance issues. It's critical to ensure your RTO's data and compliance records are accurate and aligned with actual operations. The 2025 standards have set a new foundation for the future of auditing. These updated standards will shape the expectations and requirements for audits in 2026 and beyond. It's critical that we understand how the 2025 standards will impact the audit process going forward. The revised standards address key areas like risk assessment, data and analytics, and reporting. Staying ahead of these changes will be crucial for meeting the evolving needs of our clients. The revised standards for RTOs now emphasise outcomes over just documenting processes. The focus is on what learners actually achieve and whether the training is fit for purpose, not just whether processes are written down. Auditors must verify that the stated practices are actually being implemented in reality and that they are achieving the intended outcomes. There is an expectation of continuous improvement with ongoing evaluation, adaptation, and enhancement of training and assessment based on evidence. The key focus for auditors is on whether your training and assessment strategies are designed to help learners develop the skills and knowledge required for their qualification, not just cover the units. Auditors will examine your assessment tools to ensure they are accurately testing the competencies needed for workplace performance, not just theoretical knowledge. They will also look at whether your trainers have a strong understanding of the industry context and if your delivery methods are appropriate for your learner cohort. Ultimately, the emphasis is on producing competent graduates who are ready for the workforce, not just having comprehensive policy documents. The goal is to demonstrate that your RTO is focused on achieving real outcomes for students, not just ticking compliance boxes. Key steps in the continuous improvement process. Collect evidence from multiple sources like validation, industry feedback, student surveys, and completion rates. Analyse performance data to identify trends, gaps, and opportunities for improvement across all operations. Make evidence-based adjustments to training, assessment, and support systems. Monitor whether the changes achieve the intended outcomes and adjust further as needed. Continuous improvement is an ongoing cycle of gathering data, analysing, implementing changes, and verifying the impact. Evidence-based decision-making is key. Show clear records of how data, feedback, and learner needs inform decisions about how you are delivering your training and assessment and how you are providing student support. Demonstrate active industry engagement through current examples of industry consultation, advisory committee input, and employer feedback shaping training design. Validation should be an integrated, systematic approach, not just a pre-audit activity. Show your regular assessment review cycles. Have documented processes for identifying and supporting struggling learners with clear escalation procedures and tracking outcomes. The focus is on high-risk areas that the Australian Skills Quality Authority will be targeting. There are 6 critical areas of compliance that ASQA will be paying close attention to. I'll go through the 6 areas that ASQA will be targeting. Assessment integrity is a critical issue for ASQA, the regulator, who is closely examining assessment design, marking, and evidence of genuine learner competence. In this slide, it outlines the assessment integrity is the #1 priority for ASQA as they continue to intensify scrutiny in high-risk areas. ASQA is focused on ensuring assessment practices are robust and that there is clear evidence students have genuinely achieved the required outcomes. Providers need to ensure their assessment processes are watertight to meet ASQA's heightened expectations in this crucial domain. ASQA's focus on assessment integrity is driven by persistent sector-wide issues. Key problems identified include assessments lacking required elements, invalid methods, insufficient evidence, and inconsistent marking. Auditors are also scrutinising complete unit coverage, appropriateness of assessment methods, sufficiency and authenticity of evidence, and consistency in assessor judgment. This intensified focus aims to ensure robust and credible vocational training outcomes. Good assessment design is critical to ensuring integrity and fairness. We need to map out assessment tools directly to all unit requirements using appropriate methods and real-world contexts. Detailed marking guides with model answers help ensure consistent decisions across assessors and cohorts. Robust authentication processes are essential, especially for online or work-based assessment. Regular moderation meetings allow assessors to review marked work, discuss borderline cases, and align on these standards. Clear quality standards for evidence, sufficiency, validity, currency, authenticity must be applied consistently. Scheduled assessment reviews informed by validation, student feedback, and industry input help us to continually improve. So let's have a look at some of the key evidence that ASQA auditors will expect to see to verify the integrity of your assessment practices. They'll want to see your assessment, complete assessment tools with clear mapping to the performance criteria, performance evidence, and knowledge evidence requirements. This shows the rigour and validity of your assessments. Auditors will examine your marking guides or benchmark answers to understand how assessors determine competence. This demonstrates consistency in your assessment decisions. They'll review sample assessed student work to confirm that the evidence collected is sufficient, valid, authentic, and current. Records of your moderation activities, including meeting minutes and decisions made, prove you have quality assurance processes in place. For online delivery, they want to see your authentication procedures, including how you verify student identities when they're working online. Assessment review records showing how validation and feedback inform improvements to your assessment tools are also very important. Finally, they'll want to see evidence and rationale for your RPL decisions to ensure they are appropriate. Key focus areas for ASQA, the regulatory body for vocational education, is placing increased scrutiny on whether trainers and assessors have the necessary qualifications, maintain up-to-date industry skills, and are actually delivering the training as claimed. Ensuring trainer and assessor competence is critical to providing high-quality vocational education and meeting regulatory requirements. RTOs need to carefully review their trainer and assessor records, professional development, and training delivery processes to ensure that they are meeting ASQA's expectations in these areas. Non-compliance can lead to serious penalties, so this is very important for all RTOs to address proactively. Audits have consistently identified issues with trainer competence at many RTOs. Common problems include trainers without current TAE qualifications, trainers delivering outside their vocational competency, trainers unable to demonstrate recent industry engagement or professional development. ASQA is particularly concerned about RTOs using trainers or as administrators or enrolment staff who sign off on competency without actually conducting training and assessment. The regulator is also scrutinising whether trainers allocated to large cohorts have the capacity to deliver training and assessment to all of these students. As an example, ASQA may ask an RTO to explain how a single trainer could have provided adequate training contact to 60 students across 4 qualifications in a single quarter. So what we really are focused on is the qualifications that all trainers should hold, including the TAE 40116 or TAE 40122, vocational competence in their delivery areas, and any required licensing or registration requirements. It's also really important for maintaining industry currency with documented evidence of recent industry engagement through employment, project work, professional development, or industry participation within the last 2 years. Regular professional development is critical for trainers and assessors, having an annual plan to address skills, industry knowledge, and regulatory requirements. Finally, there is a need for performance review, including observation of training delivery, review of assessment decisions, and documented feedback. The combination of these elements ensures that trainers and assessors have the necessary qualifications, industry knowledge, and ongoing development to deliver high-quality training. And we've got a question: what's the RTO's responsibility in facilitating their trainers' PD? So this is really important. Under the standards, it is a requirement of the RTO to ensure that their trainers have PD. Whether the trainer pays for it or the RTO pays for it is really up to the RTO and your policy requirements. But in the end, it is the RTO that is responsible for the compliance requirements. I have a trainer who holds a TAE 40110 and the LLN. Is this still considered current? Yes. With the latest standards, they've changed those requirements where you can hold the 40110 and the LLN. However, there is a distinct requirement within the standards that they are maintaining their currency within the vet sector. So attending training such as this and other vet-related training. So auditors are looking at evidence of what the competencies of the trainers are and how are you verifying that. They'll want to see current copies of trainer qualifications, including TAE and vocational credentials, to confirm trainers are properly qualified. Auditors will also examine evidence of industry currency, such as pay slips, contracts, project records, memberships, and professional development certificates. They'll look for professional development plans and records of completed activities from the current year, showing trainers are keeping their skills up to date. Performance review documents, including classroom observations and assessment moderation, demonstrate trainers are performing effectively. Timetables, delivery records, and trainer CVs will verify trainers actually conducted the training they were allocated and that their vocational competence was properly verified during recruitment. For assessors specifically, auditors will want to see records of marking decisions and participation in moderation activities. I've got another question with regards to PD. Does it work with a pro rata amount of PD that would be reasonable in terms of hours? And this really is up to the RTO to make a decision, and this should be within your policies and procedures. I would make it fair with the trainers and assessors in accordance with hours that they are working. However, there's nothing that says you can't do PD within your own organisation, and you could deliver PD internally with your trainers and assessors. One thing that I used to do when I had my RTO is I used to deliver 2 PD days a year for all of our trainers and assessors, and it would be a half day of PD and half day of assessment validation, and that way we got the trainers and assessors involved, and that was also within our policies and procedures. So it's what you put into your policies and procedures, and it's really up to you as the RTO. ASQA expects validation to be systematic, scheduled, and embedded in regular assessment review processes. Validation should not be viewed as a one-off exercise conducted only before an audit, which we often see, but rather as an ongoing, integral part of your RTO's assessment practices. Systematic validation helps ensure the quality and consistency of assessments and provides valuable insights to continuously improve the assessment system. Embedding validation in regular assessment review processes demonstrates a proactive, quality-focused approach that aligns with ASQA's expectations. Validation is a critical assurance mechanism, but many RTOs are not treating it with the seriousness it requires. ASQA found that validation is often done just before audits as a tick box exercise rather than an ongoing process to improve assessments. Validation is sometimes conducted by unqualified staff, and the findings are not used to make meaningful improvements. ASQA is particularly concerned about rubber stamping of poor quality assessment through validation. They will be looking closely at whether validation findings lead to real changes in your training and assessment. A red flag is validation reports that identified no issues and make no recommendations for improvement. This suggests that the process is not rigorous enough. So I've got another question. I have the same question. Should RTO organise the PD, vet and industry, or should they do it themselves? Once again, it's up to your policy. It's up to your internal processes. And this is what ASQA are going to be looking for. They're going to look at your policies and procedures and how you are putting them into practice. So it's up to you what you put into practice and what are your requirements around your trainers and assessors. Validation is a critical process to ensure the quality and effectiveness of assessment tools. We have a systematic multi-year validation plan to review all assessment tools on a regular cycle, prioritising high enrolment or high-risk units. Validators have the necessary vocational expertise, assessment qualifications, and industry currency to conduct thorough and credible reviews. The validation process should take a critical look at the design of the assessment tools, mapping to unit requirements, assessment methods, marking guides, and samples of student work. Validation reports identify specific issues and recommendations and document how the tools were improved in response. The findings should validate and feed directly into the review of your assessment tools and your continuous improvement processes for ongoing enhancement of your assessment practices. Validation is a key focus for ASQA audits. They'll examine the entire validation system, not just individual validation reports. Prior to the new standards, validation was dropping off the ASQA auditors' radar. However, that has changed in the last 6 months. A forward plan showing the validation schedule for all units, ensuring a regular review cycle, is important evidence. Auditors will want to see the validators have the right vocational competence and assessment credentials. Validation reports show critical analysis, specific findings, and clear recommendations for improvement. Records of changes made to assessment tools or processes based on validation findings demonstrate the process is effective. Validation should include a review of actual student work samples, not just the assessment instruments. A clear validation policy defining the scope, frequency, and validator requirements and follow-up processes is crucial for your evidence. ASQA expects RTOs to demonstrate a genuine and current industry engagement. This engagement should inform the design of training programs and ensure the relevance of training to workplace requirements. Industry engagement is critical for your RTO. It states to the regulator that you are up to date and that your training is delivered to the current standards of the industry requirements. Many RTOs struggle to demonstrate meaningful industry relationships or show how industry input shapes their training and assessment. Advisory committees often meet infrequently and focus on administrative matters rather than the quality of the training. Industry engagement is frequently limited to just employing trainers rather than systematic consultation. ASQA is concerned that training becomes outdated when RTOs lack genuine industry connection. The regulator expects RTOs to provide evidence that they understand current workplace practices, technology, and skills requirements within industry sectors. So let's have a look at good industry engagement practices. First, it's important to have formal advisory structures like industry advisory committees that meet regularly to review training quality and provide feedback. Secondly, there should be documented processes in place to systematically consult with employers and industry on graduate skills, training content, and emerging skills needs. Third, active industry partnerships should be demonstrated through workplace placements, equipment loans, guest speakers, and site visits. Finally, providers need to regularly monitor currency by reviewing training packages, industry publications, technology changes, and regulatory updates that affect training delivery. These 4 elements, advisory structures, systematic consultation, industry partnerships, and currency monitoring, represent good practice in engaging with industry to ensure training remains relevant and responsive. Oh, Karen, you use an industry mentor. That's a great idea. Great way to work as well when it comes to industry consultation. It should be part of your culture. If they are a very small RTO, do you need to have industry committee? Industry meetings, this is part of your strategic framework when it comes to industry consultation. And you need to make your strategic strategy for industry consultation to fit your RTO and how your RTO works. So once again, it comes down to the policies and procedures within your RTO. The key focus is what auditors are looking for to verify that your RTO's industry engagement is genuine, current, and influential. Auditors will want to see documentation such as industry advisory committees as an example, membership lists, and meeting minutes from the past 12 months. This demonstrates ongoing active industry involvement, not just a form that is flipped over and back. It is actually engaging with industry. They will also look for records of industry consultation activities, such as surveys, focus groups, interviews, and feedback forms. This shows that the RTO is proactively gathering industry input. Auditors will expect to see evidence that this industry input has directly informed the design and review of the RTO's training and assessment strategies and the way you implement your in practice. They'll want to see examples of how training content has been updated based on your industry feedback or emerging technology trends, particularly AI. Formal workplace partnership agreements, MOUs, and student work placement arrangements will also be reviewed as evidence of industry engagement. Finally, auditors will look for subscriptions, publications, and professional association memberships maintained by the RTO, as well as records of industry participation in validation, guest lectures, and assessment verification. Another question. I am in the process of writing an industry consultation management system, policies, procedures, agenda items, checklists, a lot more involved than I thought when I started off. Rabbit hole after rabbit hole. Yes, it is. And it can be that way. However, the core requirement that we should be looking at is how is your training and assessment informed by industry? That is the key here. How are you implementing that into your training and assessment? How are you implementing what you have learnt into that training and assessment? RTO membership of industry bodies, yes, JSCs are good, monthly site visits and pre-training industry analysis and form training programs as well. Yeah, they're all good. They're all good examples there. So let's have a look at the importance of student support and progression in the context of regulatory requirements. Just while I'm thinking about PD as well and industry consultation, the industry, the RTO Superhero podcast, I often see that in people's PD. It's great to use that as part of your PD plan, but how are you implementing what you've learned? That's the most important part. So even listening to a podcast, what did you learn in that podcast and how have you implemented that into your operations? So let's have a look at student support and progression and the regulatory requirements and what ASQA are expecting, in particular, how it is effectively identifying learners at risk, providing appropriate intervention and monitoring student progress throughout their enrolment. Learners often enrol without the capacity to complete their studies, and RTOs fail to identify struggling students until they've already withdrawn. ASQA and the standards have been written. The standards have been written around this. It's really around, with the new student support services requirements, it is really around student outcomes. How are we improving student outcomes and completion ratings? ASQA is concerned about RTOs with high withdrawal rates or extended enrolment periods, as this may indicate inadequate support or inappropriate enrolments. ASQA expects RTOs to have proactive support systems in place, not just reactive responses to complaints. Auditors will ask to see records of students not progressing satisfactorily and what interventions have been attempted to support them. It's important that there is clear responsibilities for monitoring student progress and escalating concerns within the RTO. So, key elements of good practice in student support. The first step is a thorough pre-enrolment assessment, including LLND testing and evaluation of course suitability. During induction and orientation, students should receive a comprehensive information on student support services, academic expectations, and how to access help. Ongoing progress monitoring tracks student engagement, assessment submissions, and progress against their training plan. Early intervention involves proactive outreach when students show signs of falling behind or disengagement. A range of support services should be available, tailored to individual learner needs, including academic support, counselling, and disability services. There is a clear escalation process for raising concerns about at-risk students to management with documented decision-making. The next step is really looking at how auditors will verify the student support systems that you have are in place and that they are working effectively in practice. Auditors will review individual student files and progress reports to assess the support provided. They'll look at the evidence of pre-enrollment, LLND assessments, documented suitability decisions, and orientation induction activities. Training plans showing scheduled milestones and expected completion dates are important to demonstrate structured support. Progress monitoring registers that identify students not progressing satisfactorily and the documented interventions taken. These are crucial to your evidence when it comes to documenting student support. Case notes for students who withdrew, showing the support offered, and referrals to support services with documented outcomes provide further evidence. Auditors will also look at the evidence of management oversight of at-risk learner cohorts. The key focus with high-risk area third parties is how are you ensuring that you are reviewing your third-party and partnership arrangements? RTOs are responsible for all training and assessment delivered under their scope of registration, even if it's through a third-party arrangement. ASQA expects RTOs to have robust oversight systems in place to monitor and manage third-party providers. Third-party arrangements present significant risks that ASQA is focused on. RTOs often have inadequate contracts, fail to monitor third-party compliance, or can't prove training was delivered as agreed. ASQA is particularly concerned about RTOs using multiple third parties without effective oversight or allowing third parties to operate autonomously without verifying that they meet the RTO obligations. Non-compliance by a third party is treated as a non-compliance by your RTO. A red flag, third-party arrangements that don't specify compliance obligations, reporting requirements, or audit rights. ASQA sees this as evidence the RTO cannot demonstrate effective oversight. Comprehensive written agreements are essential to clearly define all obligations, reporting requirements, insurance coverage, and termination provisions for third-party providers. Thorough due diligence is critical to assess the third party's capacity, resources, trainer qualifications, and compliance history before engaging them. Implementing a robust monitoring system with regular site visits, document reviews, student interviews, and audits of third-party records is key to ensuring ongoing compliance. Conducting quarterly or annual performance reviews to evaluate the third party against agreed KPIs and compliance requirements allows for data-driven assessments and improvement. Having a documented process to identify and rectify any third-party non-compliance with clear escalation to termination if needed is crucial for effective issue management. Ensuring the validation schedule includes assessments delivered by third parties with documented findings, providing crucial oversight and coverage. Third-party oversight. ASQA will closely examine the complete oversight processes, including conducting site visits to third-party location. Key evidence includes written agreements with all active third parties specifying the scope of delivery, due diligence records from the initial third-party assessment, including verification of trainer qualifications, a register of all active third-party arrangements, including delivery locations and contact details, monitoring visit reports, documenting dates, findings, and follow-up actions, third-party reporting templates, and evidence of regular compliance reporting. Performance review records showing evaluation against agreed standards. Records of any issues identified with third-party delivery and how they were resolved. Validation reports covering the assessment tools used by third parties. Having this evidence readily available will demonstrate robust third-party oversight and compliance. So, what audit ready looks like in 2026. In 2026, audit ready will mean having operational compliance demonstrated through living dynamic systems, not just static documentation. The future of compliance will be driven by real-time data and automated processes rather than manual audits and paperwork. Our Cert 3 is delivered as part as an employment contract. And students have to meet AQF level 3 prior to employment. LLN is conducted. This takes place. Yeah. How does this affect the RTO requirements of offering support to students prior to enrolment? Okay, so this takes place prior to enrolment. Okay, so you're working with an enterprise RTO. So you are an enterprise RTO. I'm thinking. So if you are an enterprise RTO, yes, okay. If you are an enterprise RTO, you've got different circumstances. You would already know whether your students or employees are ready for this training. So it's a different process, and that should be within your policies and procedures. It is totally different when it comes to enterprise RTOs because you're already working with the employees. However, it could be that they're new recruits. So that would be part of your recruitment process that you would include LLND as well as other suitability requirements for them to become maybe apprenticeship or traineeship to become a student within that training. I may have misheard, but did I hear ASQA may do observations of delivery? Yes, they will. They'll want to see observations of you delivering to students as well. Do single UOCs delivered as a cluster or skill set? Do students need a training plan? Yes. So they will need, depends on what they're doing. You'll need a training and assessment strategy for skill sets and clusters as well as individual units. ASQA expectations are that you will have a TAS in place for every single training product on your scope of registration, for every different delivery model, for every different learner cohort. So if you, for example, if you have traineeships, apprenticeships, they're going to expect to see a different TAS for them than you would for a classroom-based. That's an example. I think that's actually great. Yep, at last. Education sector. Audit-ready RTOs in 2026 will need to demonstrate compliance through live operational systems, not just static document folders. This means having student management systems that track progress in real time, trainer registers with current qualifications, integrated quality calendars, and actively reviewed risk registers. When auditors ask for evidence, you can open these live systems and document how they function rather than retrieving static documents. This approach ensures compliance is embedded in day-to-day operations, not just assembled for audit purposes. And this is where new systems that are available these days, there are a lot of systems that are out there that can help you manage your compliance, and it should be ready in a second. You should be able to access that material at any given time, and it should be updated regularly. LLN Robot has introduced Digital Profiler, a tool designed to assess digital skills. Yeah, awesome. That's great. I'd love to see that one. Could you please advise if it is better to continue with course ready or move to a digital profile? Oh, that really is up to your learner cohort. So it is who are your typical learner cohort? What is their background? What skills do they need? So I would test both and just see which one works better for you. And maybe do a trial run with some students. That's what I would recommend. You really need to have the tools that work for your learner cohort. Do you have to offer RPL? Yes. Simple answer, yes. If the RTO mainly works with large employers contextually, it's a requirement of the standards. You must offer RPL. It is a requirement. It's clearly stated. Will ASQA review delivery on a work site for that could potentially, or videos? It could be reviewing videos as well. Running an RTO with a secondary college, we use LNN. Yep, good. Thank you. Awesome. Okay, so really the system is really looking at these systems that you have in place. And there are, as I was saying, there are plenty that are out there. And you may know that Vivacity has a system that we've released, which is called Comply Hub. And Comply Hub is where you can have your compliance automated for you. So it's registers, live registers, as well as TAS builders, as well as trainers matrix builders and things like that, because I know this is one of the critical areas where there are such high non-compliances, but also RTOs struggle to get their trainers to complete a trainers matrix or update their trainers training and assessment strategy. Okay, so version controlled policies and procedures. Version control is critical for your policies and procedures. They must have a clear version number, approval date, review date, and documented history showing changes. And how we've done this with our documentation is we have the year, and we have a version each year. So each year, so 2025, we had version 1, 1.1, 2, 2.1, 2.2, etc. Now we're 2026, 2026.12. That's how we've been numbering it this year. Regular review cycles are essential to keep your policies up to date, especially as regulations and requirements evolve. It's not enough to just have policies. Staff need to be informed of updates and have easy access to the current versions. Policies should include practical implementation guidance like templates, checklists, and other supporting tools to help staff apply them. Every compliance obligation must have a clear owner. This is accountability. A specific position responsible for assuring that requirement is met. ASQA will ask who is responsible for this and expect a definitive answer. Position descriptions should explicitly list compliance responsibilities. Delegations of authority should be documented. Staff should be able to articulate their compliance obligations when interviewed by auditors. Governance structures must demonstrate executive-level oversight of compliance performance, with clear reporting lines from operational staff to management to board, if you have one. The RTO accountability chart is a way to be able to demonstrate that. Well-maintained registers are essential for demonstrating systematic monitoring and providing auditors with efficient access to compliance information. The Trainers Register tracks key details like qualifications, employment dates, professional development, and performance reviews. The Risk Register identifies risks, likelihood, and consequence ratings, mitigation strategies, review dates, and owner accountability. The Complaints Register logs all complaints received, investigation outcomes, remedial actions, and resolution dates. The Validation Register includes the validation schedule, completion dates, validator names, key findings, and actions taken. The Third-Party Register covers all active arrangements, scope of delivery, monitoring visit dates, and any performance issues identified. The Improvement Register tracks improvements identified from various sources with implementation status and evidence of completion. Evidence of continuous improvement is critical for audit-ready RTOs. Improvements must be based on real data and feedback, not just theoretical feedback, theoretical ideas. Key evidence sources include validation findings, student surveys, trainer observations, industry feedback, outcome data, and complaints. Improvement documentation should cover the issues identified, root cause analysis, proposed actions, implementation evidence, outcome evaluation, and communication to staff. This demonstrates a structured, data-driven approach to continuous improvement. Ongoing monitoring and adjustment is key to ensure improvements have the desired impact. So let's go into a practical preparation with a 90-day framework on how to achieve audit readiness. The 90-day framework is to help RTOs achieve operational compliance. The roadmap lays out key milestones and phases to guide the process, which can be adjusted based on the size and complexity of your RTO. The sequence of activities is crucial. So even if timelines need to be adapted, it's important to maintain the overflow and overall flow and order of the steps. This structured approach provides a clear path forward to get your RTO operationally compliant within a 90-day timeframe. In the first 30 days, you should focus on assessing the current state and setting priorities for immediate action. Week 1 will involve a rapid compliance gap analysis where you identify critical gaps in the 6 high-risk areas and that require urgent attention. During week 2, you will conduct a thorough audit of all trainers, verifying their qualifications, identifying any currency gaps, and ensuring they are delivering training within their competence. In week 3, you can sample assessment tools and student work to identify any assessment integrity issues that need to be remediated quickly. By week 4, you'll have documented all of your findings, prioritized the risks, and developed a detailed action plan and assigned responsibilities and deadlines. Weeks 5 to 6 focus on implementing or upgrading the core systems like the trainer, validation, risk, complaints, and improvement registers. Ensuring version control on all policies is also critical. Week 7 is dedicated to remediating any critical issues identified during the assessment review. This includes updating mapping, marking guides, and authentication processes. In week 8, the team will develop a multi-year validation schedule and commission the validation of the highest risk or highest volume assessment tools. The goal is to have the core system in place, address assessment issues, and plan for ongoing validation during this period. Weeks 9 to 10 will focus on gathering all the necessary evidence to demonstrate compliance, including industry engagement, student records, and third-party monitoring. In week 11, you'll be briefing all your staff on the updated systems and compliance expectations, ensuring trainers and assessors fully understand their obligations. Finally, in week 12, you can conduct a mock audit to test your compliance systems under scrutiny and identify any remaining gaps before the real ASQA audit. The goal is to have a comprehensive, evidence-based, well-trained staff ready to successfully navigate the audit process. The key focus is to focus first on the most critical and high impact issues that pose the most greatest regulatory risk. At the top are the critical items that need to be fixed immediately. Things like trainers without current qualifications and missing written agreements with third parties. Next are the high priority items to be addressed within 30 days. Missing evidence of trainer currency, lack of validation schedule, and gaps in student progress monitoring and governance. The medium priority items to be fixed within 60 days include documentation of industry engagement, missing continuous improvement registers, policy version control issues, and incomplete registers. Finally, the lower priority items to be addressed within 90 days are process refinements, template improvements, enhancement monitoring systems, and staff training on minor procedures. The goal is to tackle the biggest compliance risks first, whilst also addressing easier to fix that can make a meaningful impact. This structured approach will help you make the most efficient use of your resources to rapidly improve compliance across the program. Now, I've had a few people asking questions about the slides. I don't use PowerPoint. I've got a different system that I use, so that's why you can't view them. However, we will be sharing you the slides, so you will be getting access to the slides. What if critical fixes will take extensive work to correct? Well, you might need a longer time period. So it might be putting, so if you're thinking about 200 units, It might be looking at the time period of your assessment validation and implementing a strategy or strategic plan for your assessment validation. So that would be the process that I would put in place. The 90-day plan is focused on identifying what the risks are first and then working on the highest, medium to low. Basically, the cycle will start again once you've completed the first cycle. So these practices create an illusion of compliance without actually improving compliance or audit outcomes. They consume resources without adding real value. So it's really important that you have the documents in place in order to have that evidence in place. And I can see that we're running out of time, so I'm going to move through as quickly as I can. But audit likely sooner than fixes can be implemented. What auditors are looking for is they're looking for a plan. So if you haven't, if you've got an audit coming up and you haven't fixed everything yet, so you've done that 90-day cycle, you've got a plan, you've got a governance meeting, you've got minutes, you've got that evidence to demonstrate that you've got a plan moving forward. In particular, what we've seen is a plan to implement the new standards, and how have you implemented that so far? So, where the four main areas that you need to systemize is you should have a compliance calendar where you're tracking all the deadlines like validation, policy reviews, and audits. You should have automated alerts to flag expiring qualifications, overdue assessments, student progress issues, and policy review dates. Standard templates for common compliance documents like validation reports, monitoring visits, and continuous improvement plans. A compliance dashboard to provide executives with high-level view of key compliance metrics and indicators. For those who are worried, and I don't want anybody who's leaving early who's might miss out on this, I've got a compliance system check that you can access from our website. It's a tool that you can use to identify where are you at right now when it comes to your compliance, and in particular the systems that you have in place for your RTO. So the goal is to identify any vulnerabilities or areas of non-compliance so you can address them proactively. First, you should select a sample of 10 to 15 student files at random and trace each of them through enrolment to completion or withdrawal. Verify that all required documents are present and that processes were followed properly. Next, interview your trainers. Ask them to explain their assessment decisions, demonstrate their industry currency, and describe how they identify and support struggling students. This will test whether your documented procedures are actually being followed in practice. Review a selection of your assessment tools. Map them back to the unit requirements to check for any coverage gaps, inappropriate assessment methods, or insufficient marking guidance. Analyse your EVETMIS data for any anomalies such as unusual trainer workloads, completion rates, or enrolment spikes. Be prepared to explain any unusual patterns. Finally, if you use third parties, conduct unannounced site visits to verify that training is actually occurring as documented. Examine their student records and interview their trainers. So the key message is what are the key risks that you have within your RTO and that could affect your RTO. The key message is that delaying preparation until the audit notice arrives creates significant risk, as ASQA expects continuous compliance. Evidence of operational practice such as validation reports, industry engagement records, and student progress monitoring cannot be fabricated or retrospectively implemented. These must show dates and activities spanning years, not weeks. Staff need to have a genuine understanding of the systems and their compliance obligations, not just memorise responses. Training staff overnight is not sufficient. Systematic issues like assessment redesign, trainer recruitment, and third-party oversight improvements require months to implement properly. They cannot be fixed overnight. Preparing for an audit well in advance provides important operational advantages for your RTO. Systematic compliance leads to better training outcomes, reduced staff confusion, and enables confidence growth. Early preparation allows you to identify and fix issues through planned improvement rather than crisis response. This gives you an opportunity to be audit ready. So, immediate next steps for your leadership team, and I'm just about to wrap up. The first step is to schedule a compliance review within 7 days to assess the current state against 6 high-risk areas and identify the priorities. The next 14 days, executives should be assigned ownership for each compliance area, and reporting schedule to the board should be established. Within 30 days, a detailed 90-day action plan should be developed with specific actions, responsibilities, deadlines, and success measures. Finally, within 60 days, critical fixes should be completed, core systems implemented, and baseline evidence gathered for continuous compliance. The shift to assurance-based regulation is not optional, and RTOs need to act quickly to prepare for the 2026 audits. Those who start preparing now will be positioned for confident audit performance and sustainable compliance. And that's it from me. So if you want to take the next step, I also have a scorecard that you can use. So there's that one, the systems check that I've just provided you in the chat. If you haven't subscribed to the RTO Superhero podcast, I do recommend that you get onto the podcast. We have one that goes out every week. So you'll have a podcast that comes out every week my focus has been on the new standards. So are there any questions that we have so far?
Thank you, Angela. Pretty much you have covered all of the questions that were coming, but we can still give them time, like a few seconds, if they wanted to put any more questions in there, and we can go through those ones. But apparently everything is not, majorly everything is covered anyway, so I don't think so any more questions. But there is a chance if anybody wants to speak to some, like one of our speaker, this is your chance. Maybe put your hand up and you can have a little chat and we can wrap up. I know it's already over, we are doing overtime, but we can still take at least one person in.
I'm happy to answer any questions direct if you have any, in particular if you've got an audit coming up. Happy to give you some direction. Thank you very much, everyone.
No worries. But still, we are happy. Everything is good. At the moment, live, we don't even have a time to do a Q&A session. But just in case, we have also placed a link there where you can put your questions if you have any. We would love to hear your feedback. Also, we have already we have training materials available as well. If you would like to see the sample, we have put the link to get the sample as well. So if you have any questions, if you want to know more, shoot a question, shoot an email to us. Our email addresses are provided there as well. And once again, thank you so much, Ben, and thank you so much, Angela, for so much wealth of information. Sorry, Arpit.
Jennifer has some questions. Jennifer has raised her hand. Jennifer,
hi. Sure.
Allowed you to unmute your mic. You can please ask your question to Ben.
Sure. Thank you, Jennifer. Go ahead.
Yes. Jennifer, any question? You've raised your hand. Okay.
I believe Jennifer has raised her hand.
Yes, I've allowed her to unmute her mic, but
I can't see the full name. Is Jennifer Mellon something?
Melanson. Jennifer.
Yeah,
Melanson.
sorry, I clicked on it by accident.
Okay, that's fine.
That's okay, no problem. You can still speak to us.
Presentation.
No problem.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, just want to say thank you, Angela, for providing amazing information to all the people. And just want to say thank you to the team for, arranging and managing the whole session. Very grateful. Look forward for the next session.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Presentations
Once
and
again,
everything else will be sent soon. Bye-bye.
Perfect. Once again, thank you. Thank you, all of you, to join today. Thank you, Angela, for coming and giving a presentation. Thank you so much, Ben, for organizing this and for such a wonderful presentation as well. So thank you all. And we should probably go now and have a good day to all of you. Have a good weekend and enjoy the summer out there. See you next time.
Thank you, everyone.
See you next time.
See you all soon. Bye.
See you all soon. Bye.